Come on, bitch, let's go. Come on, get ready, bitches. You haven't seen nothing yet. Come on.
Valentino, Versace, Lamborghini, Bugatti. I got money to burn. I'm single and I'm naughty.
Come on.
Tiffany's, Cartier, Gucci, Armani.
Come on.
Break out your black card, boys. It's time to party.
Well, today is part 3 of the Jacqueline Laurita interview. We also address some things that came out in comments over the last 2 weeks as we've been posting episodes. We actually recorded this part 3 after all that. So I know usually when you see part 1, 2, and 3, it's people breaking up an interview all done in one period of time into 3 listens. Well, in this case, that's not what we did. We actually recorded over several periods of time over the last 2 weeks and such. So it's going to keep it fresh and exciting for you guys. I did want to comment on something before we get going with Jacqueline Laurita's part 3, and that is I wanted to comment about what was dropped by Brandi Glanville. So Brandi Glanville, as you guys may or may not be aware, has announced publicly that she is going to be suing Bravo for sexual harassment in her job. And she dropped some of her most compelling receipts this last week. I'm going to play you some of them. And I want to start here because I have a comment I need to make about all of this. So let's first start with Brandi Glanville's statement, and then I'm going to play you a receipt that she had dropped just to remind you about it.
Text me saying that he wanted me to hook up with his stage manager, and I almost felt like, do I have to do this? Like, you know what? It's like, what the f***? I mean, I couldn't sleep. I'm like, do I have to go and throw myself at this guy to please my boss? Like, what is, I mean, obviously, I didn't do that because I have but he doesn't have boundaries. He was saying, I want you, my employee, to another one of my employees. And then also, by the way, I think you should Austin. He has eyes for you. Like, your boss should never talk to you that way, especially knowing that we are not friends. We do not hang out outside of work ever. And we are at a work event. And I felt this tremendous amount of pressure to please him. But that was too far. I'm not going to go and sleep with someone. He literally thought I would do it. That's the disgusting part. And as my boss telling me to sleep with another employee he employs, he's got problems. He really is like pimping me out. I mean, it felt that way. And like, what, I'm supposed to go and hook up with these guys and tell you about how the sex is because you told me to? That is a different kind of boss. That is a pimp. I am not a hooker. You are not my pimp. And I feel like he, even just suggesting that to me, has some issues that he needs to resolve. Because who the f*** does he think he is? Does he think he's God? Does he think I'm going to run off and spread my legs because he told me to? And I think he thinks that. I would never do that, but I think he thinks I would. Otherwise, why would he say that to me? Why would he text that to me? Like, it's very brazen. Like, are you that stupid that you're texting employees about sex? Like, he does not care. He doesn't think he's going to get caught. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. And so far he has. The last thing I want to do is talk about my ex-husband, number one, especially his penis size. Like, what are you doing? And so, but you're on his show, you're playing by his rules, you have to answer the question. So I was like, he's a 9, he's great. That being on television is one thing, but then the next day he starts emailing me to try to get more information about my ex-husband's penis. And this is privately. This is not for public consumption anymore. This isn't like the joke that he was supposedly making. I don't even think it's funny. It's not a joke. That's just weird. But to follow up and ask more questions, in that moment, I knew I had to put up with it. I knew that this was going to be our relationship. I've been dealing with very sexually explicit texts and emails for over a decade, and none of them were jokes. And I had to act like I wasn't bothered by it because What if I said, you're disgusting? You think I would ever work again? Or off? No, I would be dead in the water. He was like dangling the carrot. It was like, oh, here's $5,000 to do this. And here's we think we're going to bring you back. But like I feel like for him, my life is a joke. I think that Andy wants me to take over and conquest like the people that he can't because they're straight. So I'm like his like little sex worker. And I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm a mom of two. I've been in 2 long-term relationships my entire life. Like I'm not what he thinks, what he's made me into in his head. I'm not that. And I have to play the role, and it is disgusting. Andy has asked me to tell him about the people I have sex with and who has a big penis. And he also has asked me to tell him what I've heard about his sex life. He's been incredibly, like, it's just not boss behavior. You don't get to do that to me. I don't have to tell you this, but I'm going to because I need a job. That is abuse of power. It just is. It's like, I feel like a fucking prostitute in a weird way. Like, it was such an odd question for me because I knew one of his boyfriends, but he wanted to know everything I knew. Like I have some inside track on, me into in his head. I'm not that. And I have to play the role, and it is disgusting. Andy has asked me to tell him about the people I have sex with and who has a big penis. And he also has asked me to tell him what I've heard about his sex life. He's been incredibly, like, it's just not boss behavior. You don't get to do that to me. I don't have to tell you this, but I'm going to because I need a job. That is abuse of power. It just is. It's like, I feel like a fucking prostitute in a weird way. Like, it was such an odd question for me because I knew one of his boyfriends, but he wanted to know everything I knew. Like I have some inside track on, how many people did he sleep with? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how many are there? I know one ex-boyfriend. That's it. He's like, well, I know you know everyone. And I'm like, I don't know if he was just fishing for information. Like, I don't know about his sex life. I don't want to know about his sex life. Almost like, I felt like in a weird way, he was wanting me to repeat stuff back to him. It got him off in a weird way, which I said, I really don't. If you read the text, I go, I really don't know anyone except for Marco. Like, I know nothing. But it's like he's in his head, he's just this god, and I should know everything about, he's definitely got a god complex for sure. I feel like Andy created a character that he wanted me to be, and I became that character because, again, I need to work. This is the only job I've had since I was married, and my husband took care of me. So I don't have a skill set, unfortunately. I didn't go to college. Like, I have to continue to do this. So I have to play ball. And if that means people thinking horrible things about me, which my real friends know are not true, then I just have to deal with the public perception. We will be filing a sexual harassment lawsuit.
So I had a few comments I wanted to make about this because some of the receipts that Brandi Glanville posts with this particular discussion have to do with the time frame of 2013, which is the earliest years of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That would be season 2, season 3 time frame.
All right. 25,000.
Yeah, unbelievable.
They're like 4 carats of diamonds, and then they're gold python, and they're made of gold.
Okay, and loving the sunglasses.
Did you know? 25,000.
Same.
That's right. I've got insecurity issues, apparently.
Paid $25,000 for those? These are $25,000.
Yes, 25 grand. They were like 25,000.
You may not be aware of it because this was a long time ago, but I came on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at the same time Brandi Glanville did. we were brought on as friends of competing for a housewives spot. And believe me, that's how they presented it to her and to me. So we would bring the drama as much as possible to try to outperform each other in the drama department. And the truth was, I was real friends with some of the women. So I, of course, didn't want to throw them under the bus. I'm kind of a prude.
I drink a lot, and I'm okay with it. And I a lot, and I'm okay with it too. Just so you know.
That was, of course, until season 3. I was a prude until season 3. I actually started to follow Brandi Glanville's lead because I realized, the producers loved that sort of oversexed character on the show, and she got, a lot of special treatment because she behaved that way. But the truth is, in Beverly Hills, at least in the girlfriend group that you saw on the show, women are not, really sexed up. They're very prudy like I was in season 2. I emulated Brandi Glanville in season 3 because I'm smart and I follow what works, right? And so that's what worked in the Bravo landscape. But what makes good TV isn't what a real person in Beverly Hills was like back then. It was what Andy Cohen thought was exciting television. And what spoke to Andy Cohen was a girl like Brandi who was messy, who, was willing to say anything to anyone, lie, do whatever needs to happen to make good TV. And Andy Cohen absolutely favored Brandi Glanville in the edit, in what we saw on the show, when we went on Watch What Happens Live together, when Andy Cohen did the reunion and I was on it, the way he positioned her over me, the way he talked about her shoes, which were just basic Yves Laurent's as his favorite on that particular show. Everything was about making Brandi Glanville into the star of the show. He brings her in as a housewife next season. But why was this? Okay, well, there was a few reasons that were murmured behind the scenes. I'll tell you them now, since this is all coming out. One, Brandi Glanville was bragging up a storm that she had made out with Alex Baskin from Evolution, which, I wasn't sure if Alex was straight or gay or what, but somehow Brandi Glanville made out with Alex and was bragging about it. In fact, I had dinner with Alex Baskin and I was like, Brandi's saying you made out with her. That's really unfair. Because if that gave her a leg up in the casting for Housewife, that kind of pisses me off, especially since we were having other, issues, him and I, dynamic-wise with the show. So, so that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is that Brandi got a million breaks in her housewife spot because she was up Andy Cohen's ass, because she was talking sex talk with Andy, and obviously he related to her on that, which I didn't do that. I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to say Brandi Glanville became a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills housewife for the same reason she's now suing them for. If you recall, Brandi Glanville went on later seasons and pretended to fuck a guy in a bathroom on TV, which was groundbreaking stuff at the time. Brandi Glanville talked about sex on every show like that was her MO. That's what she reached. She was the Samantha, I guess, of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Without that, she didn't have anything else to be there. What do I mean? Well, she didn't have the money. She didn't have the lifestyle. She didn't have a husband. She didn't really know any of the girls. None of the girls liked her on the show. They saw her as like the grenade to just cause problems. Adrian quit the show over her. Lisa Vanderpump later blacklisted her after, she used her for Vanderpump Rules starting point, which, by the way, she did. She used Brandi Glanville. And the fact that Sheena Shea had cheated with Brandi Glanville's husband to launch that spinoff series. So I guess what I want to say here is the following. Brandi Glanville was used up by Bravo 100%. And other people, Vanderpump Rules, Alex Baskin, Evolution, Lisa Vanderpump, we could go on and on. But Brandi Glanville positioned herself to get the opportunities she did to be used up. She went out and connected with everybody on this outrageous sexual way she was and this and that, and her outrageous behavior, and that she didn't give a two F's. She made everybody feel comfortable in talking about drugs on E. By the way, I was doing a Christmas special with her, doing E. We're showing all the Christmas trees in my house, kind of like they do with Kathy Hilton. I had like 8 Christmas trees and they were themed and all this crap. Well, anyway, we're covering it, and her and I go in and we start making a gingerbread house together, and she starts talking about the frosting like it's rails of Coke. And I am like to her, listen, this is like a Christmas show. Maybe we could like drop the drugs conversation for this one. Like, again, why do you always have to be outrageous? Yes, once in a while, you can just be normal. You don't have to be overly sexed. You don't have to be a slut. You don't have to act dumb. You don't have to pretend everything is like a party and you're a messy bitch. Even if you really are, like, take a break. Like, I think her and I ended up in a fight with the gingerbread house, if I remember correctly. But the point is, Brandi Glanville is now suing for the very reason that she got successful. It's the very reason all the people loved her so very much and gave her all the breaks that she got. And it's the same reason that they used her up and they left her on the side of the curb when she didn't do what they wanted anymore, because there was no integrity behind it from the very beginning. Now I'm going to play you the next soundbite, which is Andy Cohen sending a message while he's drunk, because he's slurring his words, to Brandi Glanville. And the reason Brandi Glanville refers to Andy Cohen as her employer and she is his employee is in the early season, Brandi was working for Evolution, who was working for Bravo, and Andy Cohen was still an executive at Bravo, as well as being like a celebrity too, a Bravo celebrity. And here's Kate Chastain joining Andy Cohen. And again, Kate, also a person very popular in the Bravo community, who sold her soul to Bravo. She did horrific things to Carolyn Bedole. I know what she did, and, got praised and huge fan base for it and all that. Again, somebody who had no boundaries, somebody who did exactly what the boss said, would bring it, would be the villain to keep getting the positive attention back. So it's no surprise to me that it's Andy Cohen and Kate hanging out personally, socially, and then doing this type of behavior to Brandi.
We have something to tell you. We're tonight, and we're going to talk about you the whole time.
So it's like a threesome.
So it's kind of like a threesome.
We're a couple.
Actually, if you're around in like 90 minutes or 2 hours, do you want to watch us on FaceTime?
Can you get here?
Would you be cool with
Yeah,
that?
FaceTime, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wi-Fi, strong Wi-Fi.
Yeah, strong Wi-Fi.
Who's Wi-Fi strong?
Love you, Brandi.
Love you, bye.
And the bleeps are bitch and the F word, if you want to know what they're saying. Okay. So, what is that? Totally inappropriate for Andy Cohen to joke around with Brandi Glanville like that. She says it wasn't a joke. It was a joke. And the reason they felt comfortable in making that joke to Brandi Glanville was because of Brandi Glanville's behavior always on every show, which was that she was all about sex and played into she wasn't very smart, and that you could joke and say anything to her, no matter how outrageous, and she would never take offense. Or, keep a video for blackmail later, although in this case, I guess that's what happened. But that was actually Brandi Glanville setting the tone. Now, Andy Cohen is a dummy, as Brandi Glanville said, because he somehow blurred the lines in thinking that he could befriend people that were on his shows. And when he burned them, or his production companies or network burned them, that they wouldn't use that same tactic and skill set that they used on reality TV to make his quote unquote great TV to attack him. And that was where he was just dumb, right? And the truth is that all the nice people, many of the women who are no longer on the show, the franchise Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because either they quit because it became too toxic, or they didn't get the reward that the other women got for being ruthless and awful and bad and oversexed, and they were called boring by production. Those women who are making reality TV, real TV of their lives, those women, they wouldn't have done this to him. They would never have done this to him. Even if he did all these sex videos and shit to them and wrote them emails. So what can I tell you? I find this all very Shakespearean. So, unfortunately, what Andy is going to learn now is that when you support talent in the way that he does for being mean, ruthless, outrageous, a slut, a liar, all those things on a TV show, those talent are going to be taught and or have it in their character to basically do that to anyone they're directed at. So if it's the star of a TV show to get camera time and a paycheck, it'll be them. If it's a Bravo Network executive or NBC or Evolution or Shed Media or Real Housewives, Ultimate Girls Trip, Caroline Manzo, or whoever it is, it'll be them next. There is no loyalty or integrity with the people that are playing the game and moving up the ladder of reality TV in this way.
I rewound it. I was like, Joe Gorga's tech. It's nice. It's nice. He keeps talking about how nice it is. I was like, this
so
looks
happy.
good.
It's
I'm
pretty.
sure.
Isn't it pretty?
No, he's got a pretty dick.
Now, I remember everything because I was there, so it sits a little bit different than if you're watching it on TV. I remember Brandi Glanville wanting to be set up by Andy Cohen because she was single and she was kind of playing the whole Bryn Whitfield thing on Real Housewives of New York. Guaranteed she's got a few text messages and voices like Brandi does from Andy. Because what is she doing? Oh, I want to meet a rich guy who's a hot Bravo celebrity you could set me up with. Oh, I hate being single. Oh, I'm highly sexually active and charged and outrageous and will throw anyone under the bus and I'm willing to be the villain. So Brandi Glanville crawled so Bryn Whitfield could run. So I guess the moral of the story here is if you sell your soul to the devil, expect this outcome that your Brandi's finding herself in. If you're the devil, expect to be punished by the soul you put in hell when you get there. And on that note, we'll start today's show with Jacqueline Laurita.
Come on, bitch, let's go.
Yeah, so at the end of sixth season is when Teresa went to prison. That was the season that I said I had quit. And then so they were like, can you please come film? We're having a horrible season. We'd like you to come back and blah, blah, blah. Would you be willing to come back? And so I did. I came back at the end. They played the prison, when they announced that Teresa was going to prison. I was filming at Kathy's house and we got the news of that. It was very emotional.
She got sentenced to 15 months. Oh my God.
Come on.
That's what it says here.
Oh no.
Unbelievable. She's supposed to serve her term first.
No.
And then Joe goes in afterwards.
What's happening to the kids? What about the kids?
I think we should reach out to them. I really do.
Don't you know I tried to do that when
Doesn't
this
matter.
first went down? I reached out to
It
her.
doesn't matter.
And she
How do
didn't
you really
respond.
feel?
If she
How do you
wanted
really
me there,
feel?
she would have
All right,
asked
but
me to
let me
be
ask you
there
a
for
question.
her.
How do you
Clearly, she
really
doesn't
feel?
want me to be there for her. I didn't even text her last night, and she must have been so scared.
You know what? It's a different day now, and everything changed.
Let me ask you a question then. When we went to Joe's father's wake, what did she do?
She hugged me.
For a long time, right? What does that tell you?
She's afraid, period. Jack, you're gonna feel better after you speak from your heart.
What are you saying?
I struggled with whether or not I should reach out to you. I decided to listen to my heart, to tell you that I feel for what you and your family are going through. I want you to know that no matter what, I will always love you, and if you need anything, I'm here.
And then she went to prison. So
Wait, what was happening in real life though? What was your reaction when this first happened?
it was shocking and sad for the family. I mean, it was like, I can't believe this is really happening. Like, I can't believe she's really going to jail. Like, it was really sad to think about her kids and just everything. Even though Teresa and I were not friendly at this point, it still hurt. Like it makes me sad thinking about it.
What was the take of the producers at the time about it? Like, did they say anything to you? Like, what are we going to do now? Or, uh-oh.
No,
Like, what was the reaction of the producers?
No, I know there was a big break, and what the producers had told to me during the break was that because Teresa had gone to prison, there was so much media around it and everything. They were getting a lot of slack from people. You know, Bravo was getting a lot of hate, a lot of why do you have people going to jail on your show? And you know, they were getting like a ton of bad press surrounding it. Yeah. So they needed time to figure out what to do with the show because it was just people were not responding well to it. And so when she was coming back to the show, when we were filming again and going to film her coming out of prison, they had told us, listen, this is basically a cleanup Teresa season. We need to get her likable again because she kind of had turned a lot of people off at that point. So they needed to kind of make her likable again. So that to me was like, okay, this is the good edit for Teresa's season because they're not going to show her in a bad light. This is like her namaste coming back as namaste. And, you know, they weren't going to show her as much in a bad light because they're trying to clean up her image now, you know? So everybody knew that. Everybody talked about it going in. Everybody knew, like, if you go against Teresa, it's going to look bad for you because they're cleaning her up. Like it was like everybody knew it. So then Melissa had told me that James Leonard, her attorney, suggested to Teresa, because they were saying to Teresa, because she kind of was off on her own island when she left. Everybody was kind of feuding with her at the time. So in order for her to come back to the show, she needed to kind of make amends with some of the cast members because you can't be on your own island on a show, really. It doesn't really work like that. So Melissa told me that James Leonard suggested that Teresa write us letters saying that she was looking for new beginnings. So she wasn't coming into this season on her own island. So Melissa told me it was all fake. And Joe told me that, you know, he had seen Teresa, talked to Teresa, and that she was even angrier than before. She hates everybody. So I knew that she still hated us. She was angry. The letters were fake coming to us that we were going to receive. You know, Teresa had expressed how much she hated me. So I knew, or I didn't believe that the, you know, looking forward to new beginnings was sincere. So when we got the letters from her saying that she wanted new beginnings, I was like, here are the letters Melissa told me about. And, you know, she doesn't mean it. It's just for show and whatever. So I actually had told producers, like, I wanted to show up at her house unannounced because I wanted to get a feel for her face to face. Because if she hated me that much, how would she possibly fake that? So I wanted to show up at her house and like look at her in the face and talk to her about this note she gave me to see if it was actually sincere or not, or, you know, kind of test her to see how she would be. But I was really surprised when I did show up at her house on camera. She seemed real. It seemed different, but I always kept in my mind what Melissa and Joe told me, you know, she hates my guts. This is not real. This is just because she has to connect with people on the show. And I'm like, wow, she's a good actress because it does feel like this is a real conversation between us and it feels real. And when I see Teresa in person, as much as I was angry at her and like knowing all these things about her, when I see her, it's weird. Like it feels different and real. And I kind of miss her because I just remembered the Teresa I knew for years before the show, before and everything. And she's been through all this stuff. And a part of me feels bad for her. And a part of me is angry with her. And, you know, I'm looking at her face to face. It seems real. And I'm like, I'm just going to go with this. Like, if she's faking, whatever. Let's just see where this goes. Because, you know, maybe she's just like, you know, fake it till you make it thing with me, like she was doing with Melissa and whatever. And maybe it'll make filming better. And maybe we'll actually end up being friends at some point. Who knows? So that's how we kind of started talking again.
Can I stop you? I've heard gossip that I need to run by you.
Okay.
I heard that when Teresa went off to jail, Melissa Gorga was actually working with Jim Leonard, the attorney.
Yes, that was her attorney too.
And the reason that Melissa Gorga fired Jim Leonard was because she was worried that Jim Leonard was spilling tea to Teresa.
Yes.
Because Melissa was getting tea from Jim Leonard at this time. So it was like, if he's doing that to Teresa and telling her that he cares about her and all this stuff to her face, then he's definitely doing it to me too. so I can't trust him.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what happened. She was expressing concerns to me, like trusting him because exactly that. Like, and he would also get Teresa work and her work, and she didn't know who he was helping more, and she didn't trust him because he was telling them everything about Teresa's personal things, legal things they knew about. And so she didn't really trust James Leonard. They kind of figured he was playing both sides.
Well, I heard a really disturbing story about this that I want to share with you. I'm telling you because I know you're back in touch with Teresa again. And so you might pass this on to her. But I heard that Jim Leonard went over to Melissa Gorga's house after he dropped off Teresa Giudice at prison. For the full scoop, join the Dishing Drama Dana Patreon. The link is in this audio description. It's only $6 a month, and you'll get the best information and tea about the things you care about, and even the things you don't know you care about. What are you waiting for?